Past year, the international community has stepped up sanctions against Iran, focusing on Iran's energy and nuclear sectors. This latest round of sanctions has sharply cut back Iran's oil exports, isolated the country from the international banking community, and contributed to a big drop in the value of Iran's currency. As CCTV's Monna Kashfi reports, sanctions have had an unintended consequence right here in the United States as well.
Rana Din Mohammadi came to the United States 2 years ago to pursue a graduate degree in education. But her dream didn't turn out quite as she had expected.
It's really difficult for us. The visa process is very difficult, and after that, nobody tells these things to students, that after getting visa and after getting into United States is the most difficult part.
A tough new round of financial sanctions against Iran went into effect earlier this year, cratering Iran's currency and cutting off ordinary Iranians from the international banking system. Rana and other Iranian students in the United States who depend on financial support from home were left with few options.
We were disappointed. We thought we lost everything, and there's nobody here help us. We went to university's international office. They told us, we know your situation is so tough here. We know that Iranian students have so many difficulties, but unfortunately, there's nothing they could help us at that time.
Under the sanctions, Rana's family in Iran has no direct way to send her money. With no credit history or work authorization in the United States, she can't apply for loans or earn income. She couldn't bring all of her money with her either. Iranian law prohibits citizens from leaving Iran with more than $5,000 in cash each time they exit the country. So Rana and her husband came up with a rather expensive solution.
The only option I had was, again, travel to my country, take some money with myself here. It's very expensive for us. And every time I went back to my country and get some money here, it cost me about 10 million, 2 months, which is a very great amount of money in my country. Somebody can live with this amount of money for about 2 or 3 months in my country.
Rana or her husband now travel back to Iran 4 times a year to get the cash she needs to pay her tuition and the couple's basic expenses. But the Iranian-American community has taken notice of the dire circumstances now facing Iranian students in the U.S. The Public Affairs Alliance of Iranian Americans, or PAIA, has started a fund to help students like Rana.
The Iran students that come here, they usually attend some of the top schools like Stanford and Columbia, and they are, really people that can contribute back in their countries, but the situation has created so much hardship that, this may not be possible. And maybe that's the consequences of a wrong policy, in my view.
Rana's story is not unique. According to the Institute of International Education, there are nearly 7,000 Iranian students currently studying at universities across the United States, and 63% of them are dependent on financial support from home to cover at least part of their tuition and living expenses. But the unintended consequences of the sanctions against Iran are also hitting close to home for some American small businesses. U.S. sanctions prohibit trade, investment, or any type of business transactions inside Iran by American citizens. But there are exceptions for humanitarian goods like food, medicine, and medical devices. U.S. businesses and individuals can also obtain special exemption licenses to conduct business in Iran. But sanctions now put financial institutions at risk. They can be barred from conducting business in the United States, even if they provide services to certain entities in Iran by mistake. So U.S. companies with licenses to do business in Iran can no longer get paid because banks don't want to transfer funds into their accounts.
Typically, the banks engage in what we call overcompliance, where although something is legal, they may say, all right, this is legal, but it doesn't fit within our risk policy. It's too risky of a transaction, and this particular account holder could end up being a problem later on down the line. And remember, the banks have liability here if they process prohibited transactions.
Despite these obstacles, Rana still maintains a perfect 4.0 grade point average in a top U.S. program. She says she has no regrets about coming here.
Studying here is a great dream for Iranian people. So again, if I know the situation is so tough, again, I decided to come here.
There are currently 6 categories of U.S. sanctions against Iran put into place through 16 executive orders and 9 congressional acts over the past 3 decades. Washington insiders say that overturning these sanctions or even reforming them will require a level of cooperation between the White House and lawmakers on Capitol Hill that may prove to be impossible with the current political climate in the United States. Monna, Kashfi, CCTV, Washington.